Welcome. Today we're going to dig into a really fascinating story about how a moment of total crisis, a huge disappointment, somehow became the launchpad for a worldwide movement. It's a story all about finding a hidden purpose right when it feels like all is lost.
So, to get started, we're going to begin with a story that might seem like it's coming out of left field. Let's travel back to Thailand in the mid-1950s.
You've got this group of monks, and they're in the middle of a really tough job. They have to move this enormous, kind of plain-looking plaster Buddha statue. But during the move, there's an accident with a crane, and a big crack appears right on the surface.
And when I say enormous, I am not kidding. This thing weighed over 11,000 pounds. That's more than 5 tons. So you can just imagine the stress of trying to move something that huge.
So a monk goes to check out the damage. And inside that crack, he sees this little glint of something. And what they discovered was just mind-blowing. The plaster was just a disguise. Underneath it was a priceless, solid gold Buddha that had been hidden for more than 200 years to protect it from invading armies. Its real value was right there, just covered up by a simple exterior.
This incredible find really brings up a powerful question, and it's at the heart of what we're talking about today. How often is true value, or maybe a true purpose, hidden right there in front of us, just waiting for a little crack in the surface to be revealed? Let's hold on to that thought.
Okay, so now let's see how that exact same idea plays out in a completely different world. We're going to switch gears to another story, one that starts with incredible hope and ends in an absolutely crushing disappointment.
So, in the early 1840s, a religious movement called the Millerites just exploded in popularity. They were totally convinced, based on how they read biblical prophecy, that Jesus was coming back to earth in 1844. Thousands of people believed this with everything they had. But the year came and went, nothing happened, and it led to this massive crisis of faith.
The source material we're looking at describes this experience in such a powerful way. For the people who believed and were sharing this news, it was this incredibly joyful time, full of hope and meaning. It was, as they said, as sweet as honey.
But that sweetness, it just vanished. When the day passed and their hopes weren't met, that joy turned into this profound, bitter disappointment. Their entire world just fell apart.
For a lot of people, that was it. Game over. But, and this is the key part, for a core group of these believers, this devastating moment wasn't the end, not even close. In fact, it turned into the most important turning point of all. This is where they totally flipped the script. They started to look at what happened in a new way. They came to believe they weren't wrong about the date of the prophecy. They had just misunderstood the event itself. This wasn't a failure. It was actually the beginning of something new. They started to see that great disappointment as a kind of test, something that was necessary to strip away their old ideas and show them what they were really supposed to be doing. It was their crack in the plaster, revealing a hidden true mission underneath.
So, what was this new mandate? What was the gold hidden beneath the plaster of their disappointment? Well, the source explains it as a very specific, 3-part message that they now felt called to share with the whole world.
This mission, which they drew right from the book of Revelation, has 3 main parts. First, a call to worship God as the Creator. Second, a warning against what's called Babylon, which is used as a symbol for all kinds of spiritual confusion. And third, a final warning against a major falling away from faith toward the end of time.
So, the whole point of this new mission was to get the world ready for the very event they had been waiting for. They believed this global announcement was the critical work that had to be done before history could reach its final chapter.
To really get the feel of this mission, the source material uses this really beautiful and powerful analogy. See, it's not just about what the message is, but how it's supposed to be shared.
It really comes down to a contrast between 2 states of being. On one side, you have inertia, being static, still, not changing. And on the other, you have motion, being dynamic, life-giving, always flowing forward. They believed their mission was meant to be pure motion.
And this idea of motion is just perfectly captured in this vision from the prophet Ezekiel. He sees a little stream of water coming from a temple, and as it flows, it gets bigger and bigger until it's a mighty, unstoppable river. And everywhere this river goes, it brings healing and life.
So what does a flowing mission actually look like in practice?
Well, it's one that can't be contained. It's meant to bring healing by pushing beyond its own borders, always moving outward to reach people who are described as waiting to be gathered in. The whole idea is that it has to be active and focused on others.
And this final quote from the source just ties it all together beautifully. The purpose isn't to be a stagnant pond. It's to flow like a river, always moving, always bringing a message of healing, and always pointing people toward a source of life.
Which brings us right back to where we started, doesn't it? With that incredible golden Buddha hidden under a simple layer of plaster. Both of these stories are about discovering a profound purpose that was hidden in plain sight, one revealed by accident, the other revealed through bitter disappointment. And it leaves us with this final thought. What true value or purpose in our own lives, maybe something we've misunderstood or overlooked, is just waiting for a crack in the surface to be rediscovered?